I hope you've been having an amazing day one of the conference. And believe me when I tell you that the next two talks are fantastic. Okay, to set the context for the next presentation, I want to tell you about one of the speakers, Ross Clanton. I met him at the Velocity Conference in 2013, back when he was Director of Infrastructure Services at Target, the US's second largest retailer. This is where he helped lead the amazing DevOps movement there, and he has been part of the DevOps enterprise movement from the very beginning. He's helped create and popularize practices such as the DevOps Dojo and Project to Product. And I was so happy for my friend Ross when he told me that he was joining American Airlines, and even more so when he told me that he was going to be working for Maya Leibman, their Executive Vice President and CIO, who I had the pleasure of meeting back in 2016. Ross is now their Chief Architect and Managing Director for Technology and Transformation. I am so excited that Maya and Ross will be talking about their journey, changing how technology work is performed, and why it's so especially important now. It's such a breathtaking achievement. Pre-COVID, American Airlines had 140,000 team members, offered customers 6,800 daily flights to more than 375 destinations in 61 countries, serving over 200 million customers per year. And they assure us they will surely be there again when the COVID crisis is safely behind us. Here's Maya and Ross.
Thank you, Gene, for that lovely introduction. We are super excited to be here to talk about our journey. Before I do that, a friend of mine sent me a bunch of these COVID-related memes recently. I thought this one was particularly funny, but I also thought it was really apropos of what's happening right now because I have wanted to present in person at this conference for like the last 5 years since I attended it in person myself. And now finally we have a good story to tell and we've been invited to present, but it's not in person. And for me, that is a load of 2020. But regardless, we are still excited to talk about our DevOps journey, which has really grown out of a series of questions. The first question being, what is DevOps? I mean, we were really starting at the very bottom, at the very beginning. And so we did what anyone does when they're learning. The first thing we did is we read some books. We went to some conferences, and if that alone right there isn't enough shameless pandering to Gene Kim, we actually invited him to come and speak to us. So we had the full Gene Kim experience, but it was great because it gave us a lot of foundation and a lot of knowledge, and it allowed us to really get started. So that's how we got started, but we also had to stop doing some things. One of the things we had to stop doing was making excuses. When we first started hearing about DevOps and this new way of working, a lot of the example companies were things like Spotify. And we thought, of course, they have to do this. I mean, that's easy for them. They were born in the cloud. But then we started going to conferences and reading other things, and we started seeing companies whose logos looked a lot more like this. And we thought, you know what? These guys probably have a mainframe or two lying around, or they probably have some legacy architecture. And we probably need to stop making excuses for why we can't do this and just get started. So that's what we did. We got started. The first thing we did was try to figure out what it was that we were going to measure and set some goals around that. We formalized our tool chain. That's kind of one of the easy first things to do because it's pretty straightforward. We brought in some coaches and mentors from the outside who could help us with this. We started experimenting. We knew that automation was really the key to all of this. So we just started automating things. And we got really involved in having immersive practical training. We needed to learn while we were doing. And our ultimate goal in all of this was to deliver value faster. There were so many times when a business counterpart would bring something to the table, a new idea, and they'd say, oh, this is what we want to do, but it's going to take IT like 6 months or a year to get it done. And those experiences just killed me. And so really the impetus behind all of this was, how do we not be the long tent pole? And we knew that there was a better way of working that would help us achieve that. So we had to figure out what it was that we were going to measure. And these were some of the metrics that we chose. These are really familiar to anyone who's read Accelerate or the State of DevOps report. And we didn't know exactly where we were going, but we knew that if we improved our deployment frequency, if we reduced our mean time to recovery, if we did all these things, then good things would happen. We had a lot of successes, I have to say, even early on. One of them was the value stream mapping efforts that we went through. These were great. I mean, obviously, they achieved their goal of identifying, all the processes and all the waste associated with them. But beyond that, they were like terrific team bonding experiences. There's nothing like sitting with your teammates and saying, "Wait, you do that? That's what it takes for us to do something," and then developing sort of a lot of energy around how we were going to attack it and make it better. The people that came out of those efforts were just super enthusiastic. But with all of our successes, we also had plenty of setbacks as well. One of the first ones was we started talking about this concept of minimum viable product. That's what we were going to do. We were going to do the MVP, and we started talking to our business counterparts about it. And they said, "Okay, well those initials are okay, but we want the M to stand for maximum. We don't want you to deliver just a minimum. This should be the maximum." So that's what MVP meant to our business colleagues initially. But we had other successes. As I said, we did a lot of immersive learning. We also brought in Udemy to do some self-paced learning. We developed learning journeys, and those were also just really positive experiences. But we had other setbacks as well. For example, at our first Business Advocates kickoff, we invited 25 people. 6 people showed up. 3 of them were from my own organization who were leading the effort. So that was sort of the initial stages and how we got started, how we learned about DevOps, and how we started being practitioners. And that led us to our next question: finance, friend or foe? Finance thought that the project approval process was really simple and straightforward, but it really looked a lot more like this, was just like months of approval cycles. I used to describe it as a process that's designed to make you give up, which, actually